kid in Steel Angel Karumi, and they said, and when I finished that role, and I was fine, because as an anime fan, I was just excited that I was, you know, in any anime, so I was like, I can die happy. I put it in now. I saw it before everybody else did, you know, like, I was really into that, and then they said, well, we have this other role that you're going to share with an actress later. And I was like, actress? Okay. Well, I would later share a role with Claudia Black. How many of you are familiar with Farscape? No? Okay, yes, you know who, the hot Australian lady with the long black hair, who is very short in real life. I was excited to know she's not this tall Amazon woman. She's shorter than I am. But I kept thinking, how am I going to share a role with a woman and be the first of many yaoi-ish roles I would play in anime? I played this little character named Mikhail. This sounds so confusing. The first time you see him, he grabs Nakihito, which is the main character. First of all, he walks across the water, grabs this little boy's hand, and walks back across the water with him. And I saw that, and I was like, oh, this can't end well at all. And in the twist of the story, he's trying to convince Nakihito to kill the main angel or robot. And when Nakihito refuses, my character Mikhail pushes him against the wall and kisses him and turns into this giant female robot with very, very big robot. And yes, it's anime. And that's where Claudia Black comes in. Well, the funny thing is, I heard Claudia Black's voice, and I've seen Claudia Black. She was in Pitch Black and the Riddick movie, or there's a flashback in the Riddick thing. I heard her voice a million times, but I never thought you sounded similar at all. Until I heard the transformation, and I was like, wow, we do sound a lot alike. And that would be my first show, and really my first break into working in this industry. The second show I auditioned for was something called Paradise Raiders, which I was like, well, I've never heard of this, but I'll audition for it. The names of the characters, and you can figure out what this is. The names of the characters were Genjo Sanzo, Chohakai, Shagojo, Sangoku, and I was like, oh my god, is this Sayuki? Is this Sayuki? And they're like, yes, fanboy, get in the mood. Like, so that would be my second show. You think I don't work with a microphone for a living? That would be my second show, and as strangely as it happens in this industry, once that happened, I was doing like 4 and 5 shows at a time. Right after that, we started working on Full Metal Panic, then Super Gals, and Nail Ranga, and it was just boom, boom, show after show after show. And now I wake up 10 years later, almost 12 years later, and I'm still doing this for a living. So the sad thing is we were supposed to talk about video games also in this panel, but Casey wasn't able to make it. I don't know if y'all know what happened. Casey's passport didn't come in. It's a long, sad story, but I've also done video game work, so I can talk about that if you want to talk about it. But what questions do you guys have? I can just sit and ramble into the microphone forever, but I'm here to talk to you guys. Yeah? Yes, Chrono Crusade, yeah. The question was, in working on Chrono Crusade, how do you have a balance between being like the cutest, that's so funny, I'm gonna blush, the cutest little devil to this big, giant, 26-pack having demon, It was really funny, I didn't even get to audition for Little Chrono. Matt Greenfield knew that I could do that part. I had to prove to them that I could do Big Chrono, which the process of doing that was really cool in a geeky, I'm getting geeky about stuff, in a really geeky kind of way. They do this technique, because when my brother's also a voice actor and director. When my brother first heard it, he didn't believe it was me. My brother said, that's absolutely not your voice. I was like, listen to the way the words sound as they come out of my mouth. And he's like, that's you, but how did they do that to your voice? This is gonna show what a nerd I can be. A WAV file just looks like a bunch of squiggly lines, basically. Well, what they do when we double a voice, naturally when you lower your voice beyond the normal threshold, you get like that gravelly sound, that sound. Well, so in the file, it looks like that. What they do is they copy and paste your voice directly on top of itself and then nudge it slightly. So what it does is it fills in those gaps in your voice and kind of kind of like smoothing over the road. And that's all they did to make the look. Because like, if I mean, I can say something like, you know, Roseanne Crystal, but you hear the little sound in the voice, that clears all that out. Doing Little Chrono is just like me after about 12 cups of coffee. He's a little more nasally, like when he's like, Roseanne, you know, he talks through the tip, like the top of his nose. But that's kind of my favorite type of character, that lovable, loyal, also fall down, you know, Jerry Lewis kind of fall down comedian. I've played several characters like that, and I always love those characters. He especially, that character is real fun to me because, or real close to my heart because I met the creator of Chrono Crusade while we were working on it. And so I got to ask him a lot of questions that I would never ever get to do when I'm working on a show. So it's really neat to know the creator, and he's super cool. If you're ever anywhere where you can meet Mr. Moriyama, he's the coolest guy in the world. And tell him Greg says hello. But yeah, it was a really fun role. The director had a lot to do with the comedy. Matt Greenfield, he was also the director of Evangelion. Really brilliant director, and I just doing what you do for a living, you really have to trust the director, and you have to believe that even if it doesn't sound right in your ear, that what he's hearing is what he wants. And I was really happy with the end product. I was saying earlier that that's the first show my mom and I watched together, and my mom was like all teary-eyed at the end of the show. So we had done it right, evidently. So somebody else had a question. Yes, right there, looking at me. The saddest moment is actually something that's not recorded. It's when they took Sayuki Reload and Reload Gun Clock away from us. I'm always working on sad shows. Probably the saddest is a show I've done called Clanade. And the people that have seen it can back me up on this. I play, luckily, when I first, again in that show I play that kind of crazy, silly, kind of sidekick character. And during the first season I was like, oh, this guy is just annoying, because he really just comes into a room and is like, how obnoxious can I be at certain times? But in the second season, when everything turns bad, like I can't give anything away, but like the whole, like the second season should be like, it should be called Let's See How Many Ways We Can Tear Your Heart Out. Then you just wait for that character to walk in the room because he's the only breath of fresh air. You're like, oh, sad. Oh, look, here's the silly guy, you know, like. So that's one of the saddest shows I've ever done. But I think the only time I've ever actually cried was the end of Chrono Crusade. And if you listen really closely, but not the last line, but the second to the last line, you can hear me crying, like. Because I had just seen the scene right before we recorded it. So I'd only seen it just moments before. So it was pretty intense, yeah. And I don't want to spoil it in case you haven't seen the end. Yes? Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do the Oprah Winfrey thing. Hang on.
What's been your favorite role that you've given?
I can finally talk about it. I'm not, wait, hang on. I want to talk with my act team. I can finally talk about one of my favorites. It's